Discover Benjamin, the beloved son who fulfilled God's divine plan for a transforming tribe in the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, king of Judah. In the windswept wilderness beyond the great city of Bethlehem, the ancient echoes of a prophetic journey were forged. Here, in the shadow of God's promise, Jacob and Rachel faced their deepest trial, a labor marked by strife and urgency, against the rugged terrain painted with the desolation of twilight. Rachel's cries mingled with the stillness of the night, piercing the oppressive silence. Jacob, filled with trepidation, wrestled with both love and fear as he sought a place of refuge for his beloved. Suddenly, in the stark wilderness, the cries of a new life broke the night as hold a radiant sound, akin to a bright star amidst the darkness. Benjamin, Jacob murmured through tears of joy and anguish, naming his son Son of the Right Hand, a title steeped in both divine favor and a foreboding shadow, a reminder of Rachel's suffering. In that sacred moment, a covenant was spoken, threading their fates into an intricate tapestry of familial devotion and heartache. As Benjamin grew, the weight of Jacob's favoritism rested heavily upon him, producing a tension that vibrated through the household like a taut string. His brothers, envious of the richly woven coat, radiant in its blue hue, viewed him with disdain. Yet, even amidst their unspoken rivalries, Benjamin thrived in playful innocence, an untouched spirit adorned by familial love. It was here, in this charged atmosphere, that God's hand began to stir, guiding Benjamin toward an unforeseen destiny, a path paved with challenges that would shape him into the leader he was destined to become. The confluence of envy and bitterness erupted when Benjamin's brothers, swayed by darkened hearts, conspired against Joseph, their own flesh and blood. They sold their brother into slavery, unbeknownst to them, forever intertwining their fates with enduring grief. As seasons ebbed and flowed, Benjamin witnessed the turmoil within his family, the knots of guilt tightening with each passing day, yet his heart remained untouched by the shadows that consumed his brothers. Years unfurled like scrolls of fate, dragging the land into famine's cruel grip. Jacob, in desperation, ordered his sons to Egypt to procure grain. As they journeyed southward, a great heaviness cloaked their hearts, the air laden with unspoken fear and apprehension. Now a young man, Benjamin pondered his own future, aware of the fragile threads that tethered his family. Upon their arrival in Egypt, they were met not by strangers but by Joseph, once a brother, now a powerful governor, a stranger masked in authority. In this foreboding court adorned with the echoes of divine providence, Joseph, with keen insight, probed into their souls. The brothers stood trembling, haunted by their past, as memories of betrayal surged forth like a flood. Before long, Joseph's demand struck like a lightning bolt. He insisted on seeing Benjamin. His heart raced at the thought of embracing his cherished brother, now caught in the very web spun by their collective sins. In a moment of perilous import, Jacob hesitated, fear gripping his heart as he contemplated sending Benjamin into the unknown. The weight of past betrayals hung heavy, entangling the emotions of every brother returning to their father. Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful stories from Scripture. Hit the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share it with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed by how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. The air thickened with tension as Jacob released Benjamin into the embrace of destiny, the unresolved specter of Joseph's disappearance lingering like a ghost in their midst. Would envy dictate the future, or would love overcome the trials? As Benjamin stood at the threshold of Joseph's court, the curtain of destiny hung poised to rise, revealing the divine narrative woven by the hand of God. What awaited in the chambers of power? How would this once innocent brother navigate the intricate web of familial turmoil? Amid swirling emotions and divine whisperings, the promise of God loomed large, casting shadows that flickered brightly with hope. How would the son of Jacob and Rachel fulfill the divine plan amid such chaos? The answers lie just beyond the veil of revelation, drawing us deeper into a story pregnant with divine purpose. As Benjamin stepped forward, his heart thrummed with anticipation. The grand hall, filled with opulent decor, reflected the might of Pharaoh and the mystery of his brother. A single glance at Joseph, now adorned in Egyptian linen and holding the scepter of authority, ignited a torrent of emotions deep within him. Recognition danced in the air, yet the weight of unspoken words and unhealed wounds loomed like a cloud over their reunion. Joseph's eyes searched the faces of his brothers, resting upon Benjamin with a mixture of longing and purpose.
"Is this a brother you bring?"
he inquired, voice resonating through the lavish chamber, a hard shell encasing soft anguish. The brothers stood still, shadows of their past washing over them, fear and dread intertwining with the hope Benjamin inadvertently ignited. With every heartbeat, Benjamin felt the weight of countless secrets swirling around him. Each moment hung heavy with destiny's breath, as Joseph continued, "You have returned from the land of Canaan, and yet a deeper truth calls for your acknowledgement." He paused, allowing the gravity of his words to settle. "Do not let your hearts be troubled over the past," Joseph declared, his voice now steeped in grace. "Though what was intended as harm has transformed into life. Your brother, whom you sold, stands before you not for vengeance, but for a purpose ordained by the Almighty." The reality of the moment struck Benjamin like thunder. This was no mere encounter. This was the crossroads of fate, drenched in God's sovereign will. Would they embrace the pathway toward reconciliation, or would they fall into despair, consumed by their past? Joseph pressed on, leaning closer. The brothers' eyes, wide and wary, reflected the flicker of a long-awaited hope. "I am your brother Joseph, whom you sold into Egypt. And now the time has come for us to heal, for God has sent me before you to preserve our family through this famine." A storm brewed in Benjamin's heart. He sensed the world shifting beneath his feet. How could God weave such intricate designs from the thread of betrayal? The others stumbled beneath the weight of guilt, the despair in their eyes echoed tales of sorrowful memories. But in Joseph's gaze was a call for redemption, an urging to forsake the chains of bitterness that had bound them. "See, I stand here not as the governor of Egypt, but as the instrument of God's will," Joseph proclaimed, lifting his arms as though to embrace them with the strength of their shared lineage. "A covenant remains, a promise to our forefather Abraham that transcends our failures and lies ahead, gleaming with purpose." As Joseph's words settled, a profound silence enveloped the room. The dignity of forgiveness was at hand, yet the reality of brotherly love could only be reached through utter vulnerability. "Bring your father to me, and all that belongs to him," he urged, hope rekindling like a flicker of fire in the dark. "For God meant it for good, bringing us to this moment, to save lives." The brothers stood on the precipice of a new dawn, realizing the shackles of their past could be broken by the grace present between them. Benjamin, though still standing on uncertain ground, felt a stirring in his spirit, a whisper revealing the divine intent tugging at his heart. As they reveled in the prospect of healing and reunion, the weight of their trials did not vanish. Rather, they began to see their pain transformed into future blessings, orchestrated by God's sovereign plan. But in the distance, shadows loomed, bearing witness to the battles yet to be fought. The journey ahead would demand courage, faith, and love, and through it all, God's hand would guide them deeper into His divine mystery. For unbeknownst to them, a greater narrative unfolded as they danced around the edges of reconciliation. Would they truly grasp the magnitude of God's providence, or would fear hold them hostage? The horizon shimmered with promise, igniting curiosity of what lay ahead, whispering the compassionate truth of God's sovereign plan yet to be unveiled. As the gravity of Joseph's revelation pierced the silence, his brothers stood transfixed, disbelief woven into their expressions. They had come seeking grain, yet they stumbled upon a truth that unraveled the fabric of their past. The swell of emotions crashed like waves against the shores of their hearts, remorse, awe, and an awakening sense of hope. Joseph studied their faces, etched with lines of guilt and regret. "Fear not, for the God who watches over us has turned our dark past into a gleaming pathway. I shall provide for you and your households." His voice resonated with authority tempered by compassion, as he reached out his hand toward Benjamin. "Come closer, my brother," he beckoned, and Benjamin, trembling yet emboldened, stepped forward. The warmth of Joseph's embrace enveloped him, a balm for the wounds carved by years of separation and sorrow. "You are like the light returning to a house long shrouded in night," Joseph whispered, his heart swelling with love. "Your presence is a promise fulfilled." The brothers, witnessing this reunion, felt their spirits stirred. Judah, after a moment of grappling with his own heart, finally spoke, "With our father still in Canaan, can we truly heal? For the pain we inflicted upon you clings to us like heavy chains." Joseph's gaze turned solemn, yet a glimmer of promise shone within. "What was meant for harm, God has woven into His tapestry for good. You will invite our father to Egypt. I will shower him with kindness, for the famine's grasp shall not consume us, and our lineage shall continue." As Joseph shared his plans, the room buzzed with a newfound energy, resonating with the truth of God's faithfulness. Yet, amidst this moment of grace, a hidden tension lingered, for deep within, Joseph pondered, would they truly trust this doorway to redemption, or would fear betray their hearts once more? The brothers, unified in purpose for the first time, agreed to return to Canaan to gather their father, Jacob, and share with him the startling news. But even as hope filled their hearts, Benjamin felt a stirring within, the whisper of divine mystery drawing him closer to a destiny that transcended their familial narrative. As they prepared to depart, Joseph gave them provisions of grain and gifts, ensuring they would not journey empty-handed. "And take this silver back to our father," he instructed. "Your steps will be guided, and the Lord will take it from here." With heavy hearts yet soaring spirits, they departed the grand hall, feeling both the weight of their mission and the lightness of newfound grace. The sun shone brightly above them, casting an ethereal glow upon their path, covering them in a hope that seemed almost tangible. As they ventured back toward Canaan, shadows whispered behind them, memories veiled in darkness, the unforgiving specter of their past still looming. Each brother felt the tension of truth woven with fear. Would they share all that had transpired, or would silence breathe life into the shame they had carried too long? Jacob, awaiting news, felt a shift in the atmosphere as his sons approached. His heart quickened in expectation, yet dread lingered at the edges of his mind. As they drew near, he sensed that their journey was not merely a return, it was the beginning of a divine orchestration. The air thickened with divine suspense as the tale of Joseph awaited its fuller revelation. The family stood at the crossroads of their history, unaware that God's sovereign plan was unfurling with each step they took. A promise lay dormant within the heart of Israel, a promise yet to be awakened, structured not merely around forgiveness, but foretelling a future greater than they could ever fathom. For in the shadows of their past, in the fragments of sorrow and strife, God was laboring to fulfill a promise for a tribe that would reflect His glory across generations, weaving their stories into His grand design. What awaited them beyond these moments of truth would pull them deeper into God's mysteries, revealing a testament of faith yet to be written. As the brothers approached their father Jacob, the weight of their secret bore heavily upon their hearts. The dust from the road stirred around them like the restless memories of their past. Before Jacob could utter a word, the brothers exchanged fearful glances, their thoughts a tumult of turmoil. Judah spoke first, his voice quaking slightly as he took a step closer to their father. "Father, we have brought you news from Egypt," he began, though the words felt trapped within him, pending the revelation that was to unfold. Jacob's brow furrowed as he sensed the gravity in Judah's tone. "What of your journey? Did the governor of Egypt treat you well?" he asked as hope and dread wrestled within him. Judah inhaled deeply. "Indeed, he treated us kindly. And yet he is more than a mere governor to us, for we have uncovered a truth that binds us more closely to our blood." "Speak, my son," Jacob urged, a tremor of anxiety mingling with the urgency in his heart. With courage summoned from the depths of their souls, the brothers relayed the tale of how they encountered Joseph in a foreign land, a brother believed lost, now exalted and in authority. "He revealed to us who he is and spoke of a plan ordained by God," Benjamin added. "He wishes to embrace us and to bring you to Egypt where there is abundance." The shock of these words crashed over Jacob like a tempest. "My son, Joseph alive?" The joy that flooded his heart was quickly tainted by a whirlpool of disbelief. "Why did you not tell me before? I would have rushed to him." Tears mingled in the eyes of the brothers, the lines on their faces deepening as their father continued to reel from the news. "You have no idea the weight of your words," Jacob replied. "Is it truly he who awaits us? Or do your hearts seek only to deceive me?" "No, father," they cried in unison, their fervency echoing through the tent. "He is alive, and the famine grips the land. Come with us. He has promised us a place there." As Jacob pondered the truth, memories of his beloved son flooded his mind. Joseph's coat, the dreams he had shared, and the grief that had lingered for years like a wound unhealed. Israel, the aged patriarch, spoke with a voice firm yet shaken. "If Joseph is indeed alive, and God's hand has orchestrated this moment, then I shall go." The night passed in fervent prayer, as Jacob, a man of the covenant, sought divine reassurance. He recalled the promises spoken to his grandfather Abraham and to his father Isaac, the assurance of descendants who would inherit a great land. Would this journey to Egypt be a fulfillment, or yet another layer of complexity in God's unfolding mystery? As dawn broke over the horizon, Jacob was filled with a new resolve. He gathered the necessities to embark, each step pulsating with anticipation and trepidation. The journey was long, and as they traveled, the brothers felt the eerie silence of the desert envelop them. Joseph's words churned in their minds, and an unfamiliar sense of expectation began to weave itself into their spirits. Upon reaching the outskirts of Egypt, they beheld the grand city rising before them, its splendor a stark contrast to their humble origins. But, led by love woven with fear, they pressed on until at last they stood before Joseph's palace. As they entered the great hall, their hearts raced, and anticipation bubbled in the air. There, Joseph awaited, adorned in the fineries of his station, yet a glimmer of recognition danced in his eyes. "Brothers," he proclaimed, and as their eyes met, the chasm of years closed, fading in the warmth of familial love. Joseph saw them as he always had, a mixture of mischief and melancholy, shards of a shared past now reshaped by grace. The embrace that followed echoed through the grand chamber, a testament of redemption, forgiveness, and divine orchestration. But in the depths of Joseph's heart, a powerful stirring grew, a deeper knowing that this reunion was not the end, but the beginning of fulfillment beyond their wildest imaginations. As he looked upon their faces, he recognized the birth of a new tribe, a transformed covenant. Woven by the very hands of God. In that moment, a divine silence loomed as the realization dawned upon them. Their journey had been divinely scripted, destined not just to lift their family from famine, but to ignite a legacy of a nation, a tribe that would bear witness to the glory of the Most High. For in the shadows of their reconciliation, the promise whispered its gentle truths, the divine orchestration of a future that would reveal the depths of God's faithful covenant. What awaited them was a revelation beyond the simple threads of their lives. They were stepping into a grand narrative of hope, love, and destiny intertwined, in adventure pointing to the magnificence of God's sovereign plan yet unfurling before their very eyes. As the embrace lingered, Joseph's heart swelled with love and a profound sense of destiny. The brothers, filled with wonder and relief, marveled at the truth that had drawn them together once more. Joseph stepped back, surveying the faces that held both familiarity and anguish. "Bring my father, Jacob, here to me," he declared, his voice rich with authority yet tender with affection. "Tell him of all my glory in Egypt, and all that you have seen. Let him rejoice, for I am just as he dreamed." They nodded, filled with the urgency of his words, but Judah's heart was heavy with thoughts of their youngest brother, Benjamin. "Joseph," he spoke, hesitating as the memory of their choices weighed heavily upon him, "you do not know, but Benjamin is with us. He is our father's cherished son, born in his old age, and our father loves him greatly." At the mention of Benjamin, Joseph's eyes widened. The threads of their shared history tightened around him, binding together loss and hope. "He, too, shall see me," he urged, yearning for the full embrace of his family. "Bring him to me, that I may lay my eyes upon the last link of our mother's love." Then, with a sense of purpose igniting within them, the brothers hurried to find Benjamin. They found him waiting with the goods they had brought from Canaan, laden with gifts for the governor. "Our brother desires to see you," they spoke earnestly, eyes alight with the flame of reunion. Benjamin, although still tinged with the shadows of fear, felt courage flow through him at their words. Together, they returned to the palace, hearts racing with the thrill of new beginnings. When Benjamin entered the great hall, Joseph felt a torrent of emotions rise within him. His younger brother stood before him, innocent and vibrant, a living testament to the promise that God had fulfilled. "Benjamin," he breathed, moving forward as tears cascaded down his cheeks. "God has not only preserved you but has brought us to this moment for his glorious purpose." Benjamin, though confused, felt drawn to the warmth in Joseph's embrace. "You are my brother," he whispered, the words trembling like a fragile prayer. Seeing their reunion, the brothers stood by, tears pooling in their own weary eyes, as the unfathomable mercy of God enveloped them all. They saw before them the beginning of a healing that could only be orchestrated by the Divine Master, who wove together the threads of brokenness with a promise of restoration. In the days that followed, Joseph invited his family to dwell in the land of Goshen, a place of abundance. He told them of his dreams and the great purpose they would fulfill as a family, 12 brothers representing 12 tribes, destined to grow and flourish. Yet, in the midst of their rejoicing, there lingered the shadow of the past. The remnants of their actions still hung like a veil over their hearts. Joseph, wise beyond his years, sought to guide them through the labyrinth of guilt that threatened to pull them back into despair. "You meant it for evil," he gently reminded them, "but God meant it for good. Do not dwell upon the pain, for this is your day of restoration." Emboldened by Joseph's words, the brothers began to recognize their shared purpose. They would be more than mere gatherers of grain, they would become a people set apart, a nation destined to proclaim God's glory among the earth. As night fell upon Egypt, the lamp of hope burned brightly in their hearts. United at last, they gathered together, recounting the stories of their father, of the faithfulness of their ancestors, Abraham and Isaac. They envisioned the great nation that would arise from their lineage, yet, deep within Joseph, a stirring remained. He understood that this was merely the beginning of a much greater story, one that would stretch across generations and nations. With a heart committed to his father's legacy, he felt the weight of a call that transcended time, but as the dawn approached, an echo of divine mystery loomed over the land. What role would Benjamin play in this unfolding tapestry? What challenges would they face in Egypt, and how would their faith be tested in the face of adversity? To every heart now beating as one, it was clear, God's plans were celestial in scope, intertwining a story of redemption that would reverberate through the ages. The brothers and their beloved Joseph stood at the threshold of a great revelation, for they were called to bear witness to the unfolding of God's sovereign design, a legacy that would encompass both blessing and hardship, a journey into the unknown, marked by faith and fraught with anticipation. And it came to pass, after Joseph had embraced his brothers and welcomed them into the land of Goshen, that the news of their arrival reached Pharaoh. The king of Egypt, upon hearing of Joseph's family, was filled with joy and graciousness. He sent word to Joseph, saying, "Invite your father and your brothers to dwell in the best of the land, let them eat the fat of the land, and provide for them from the abundance of my storehouses." Therefore, Joseph approached his brothers as the dawn broke over Egypt, filled with the assurance of a divine purpose. He said to them, "The heart of Pharaoh is favorably inclined toward our family, and he allows you to take possession of the land where the Nile's riches flow. Prepare your hearts, for our father shall be brought forth, and he shall find comfort in the bounty here." With hurried steps, the brothers readied their hearts and minds, rejoicing in the provision that awaited them. They were filled with determination to bring their father, Jacob, forth from Canaan, and heal the wounds of separation that had burdened their family for so long. As they departed to their homeland, recollections of their youth flooded their hearts. Memories of their father's voice teaching them God's ways, of the warmth of their mother's love, and of dreams yet unfulfilled echoed in their minds. Upon reaching Canaan, they found their father in the tent that had been his refuge. "Father, we have returned!" they exclaimed, their voices a chorus of joy and fervor. And Jacob, lifting his weary head, beheld the faces of his sons, and an urgency overcame him. "What is this that you say? Has Joseph truly been made governor over all Egypt?" "Indeed, he has. Judah spoke boldly, and he desires to cherish you, to bring you to a place of abundance. Come, we have found favor in his sight." With trembling hands and a heart that raced with both hope and fear, Jacob prepared for the journey. He gathered his belongings, sealing with prayer every item he bore. "O God of my father Abraham, and God of my father Isaac, you who have guided me throughout the years, lead me now to my beloved son," he implored, invoking the God of the covenant. As they set forth toward Egypt, Jacob felt a weight in his spirit, doubt wrestled against joy. The memory of his past sorrows gnawed at him, but at the same time, a flicker of divine promise ignited within his heart. God spoke to Jacob in a vision of the night. "Fear not to go down into Egypt, for I will make of you a great nation there. I will go down with you, and I will also surely bring you up again." Awakened from sleep, Jacob rose, a renewed strength surging through him. He gathered his sons, and together they continued to their destiny in Egypt. The road was fraught with apprehension, yet each step led them closer to the fulfillment of the promise. Upon their arrival, Joseph rushed to his father, and the moment their eyes met was as if time itself paused. "My father," Joseph cried, unable to contain the swell of emotion. Jacob gazed at his son, hardly able to comprehend the miracle unfolding before him. "Joseph, my son, is it truly you?" With hearts intertwined, they embraced, tears streaming as the joy of reunion swept away the sorrows of the years. Witnessing the love of the two, the brothers were enveloped in a humble awe, marveling at how God's hands had woven their story through pain to lead to such a moment. Yet, unbeknownst to them, lurking within the shadows, a greater battle awaited. For the land of Egypt, though rich, would soon face trials that would test their faith and forge their identity as a people set apart. God's sovereign plan was unfurling before their eyes, beckoning them deeper into the unfolding mystery. The very foundation of a nation was destined to rise, marked by trials that would ignite their faith and strengthen their resolve. For Joseph's purpose would not end here. They were on the brink of a greater revelation, and as Jacob stood, his eyes were drawn to the horizon, whispering into the dawning light, "What story shall the Lord write for us in this land? What unseen provisions await us?" The echoes of destiny reverberated through the air, igniting within them a fervent anticipation of God's unfolding masterpiece. And it came to pass, that as Jacob settled in the land of Goshen, the days unfolded with richness and blessing. Jacob's heart swelled with gratitude for the reunion with Joseph, yet, in the depths of his spirit, he felt an unusual stirring. "Surely, the hand of the Lord has brought us here," he mused, reflecting on the journeys that had led them to this moment of grace. Joseph, now adorned in the vestments of authority and power, provided for his family beyond their needs. He summoned his brothers, saying, "Bring forth my younger brother, Benjamin, that he may see the bounty of our land in the face of the brother whom he has never known." But as the words were spoken, a cloud of apprehension cast its shadow upon Jacob's heart. "Why do you seek to take Benjamin from me?" Jacob asked, voice trembling, revealing an inner turmoil. "He is the last of Rachel's children, the one whom my soul cherishes. If he is lost, I shall descend into sorrow." Yet Joseph remained steadfast. "Father, it is necessary that Benjamin come with us. For thus it is decreed, that those who would enter into the presence of the Lord of Egypt must bring their youngest brother with them. I swear by the life of Pharaoh that if you allow him to come, he shall return to you in safety." After many days of struggle within himself, Jacob felt the weight of fate pressing upon them. He prayed earnestly, seeking God's affirmation. "O Lord God of my ancestors, if this is your will, grant me peace. I release my fears unto you." And with the blessing of his heart, he sent Benjamin, along with the promised gifts, a token of their humble gratitude. The brothers journeyed with Benjamin, their hearts heavy yet hopeful. As they entered into the presence of Joseph, the scene was filled with a majestic tension, for they had yet to comprehend the depths of their brother's wisdom and the divine tapestry being woven before them. Upon his arrival, Joseph regarded Benjamin with tenderness engraved in his eyes. "Is this your youngest brother?" he asked, his voice warm yet laced with holy anticipation. The sight of Benjamin awoke a flood of memories and emotions within him. "God be gracious to you, my son," he whispered softly, embracing him. The brothers, however, remained unaware of the trials ahead, for Joseph, filled with a divine purpose, hid his identity from them still. He set before them a feast, and as they languished in comfort, he discerned the responses of their hearts. Would they betray one another as they had done in the past, or had they been changed by the hardships endured? "Bring forth my cup, the silver one," Joseph commanded. And in a moment designed to reveal their character, he placed it in Benjamin's sack. When the search ensued, and the cup was found, fear gripped the hearts of the brothers. They returned to Joseph, and Judah, filled with desperation, pleaded for the life of Benjamin. "Let me become a servant in his place," he interceded, a shadow of the weighty sorrow reflected in his soul. Joseph, witnessing Judah's heartfelt plea, felt the depths of compassion swell within him. "I am Joseph," he declared, unable to contain his emotion, and the air thickened with a divine revelation. "Is my father still alive?" The revelation struck the brothers like an unexpected storm. They trembled with awe and fear as the truth unfurled before them. Would they remain steadfast in the face of their choices, or would old wounds resurface? The stage was set for a moment that would change the course of their lives and the destiny of a nation. For in this pivotal moment, God's sovereign plan was revealing itself yet again, bringing to light the transformative power of forgiveness and redemption. The tapestry was being woven intricately, and with it, the foundation of a great lineage awaited its birth in the trials of sustenance and faith. What further mysteries did the Lord hold in store for them? The dawn of promise loomed just beyond the horizon. And Joseph, filled with the overwhelming current of emotions, embraced his brothers one by one, as if they were lifeblood returning to him. "Do not be distressed, nor let your anger be against yourselves for selling me into slavery," he spoke with authority yet softened by grace. "For God sent me here before you to preserve life." His words rang with the echo of providence, for the famine was upon the land, and without the wisdom of Pharaoh's house, the people would have perished. The brothers stood silent, absorbing the weight of his revelation, each man grappling with the heavy veil of guilt that had shadowed their hearts. "How can this be?" Reuben, the firstborn, stammered, the anguish of his past choices pressing down upon him. "We are unworthy of such grace. Indeed, you sold me, Joseph affirmed gently, but the Lord utilized your actions for good, to bring about this present salvation. For 2 years now the famine has been in the land, and there are yet 5 years in which there will be neither plowing nor harvest. With every word, Joseph revealed the divine narrative interwoven through their lives, thus transforming their shame into hope. He ordered his servants, saying, "Hasten, bring my father quickly, you shall dwell in the best of the land. You and your household will be nourished." The anticipation of their reunion ignited a fervent hope, and Joseph beheld the moment through the lens of heaven's design. As the brothers returned to Canaan, filled with news both joyous and miraculous, Jacob's heart leapt within him at the tidings that flowed like honey. Joseph lives. He rules over all the land of Egypt. They presented the chariots laden with provisions and the wealth of the land. Yet Jacob remained unconvinced, his heart wavering between despair and exuberant faith. "It is too good to be true," he murmured, a father's heart wrestling with disbelief, but when he beheld the goods and heard the message of his son, the spirit of Jacob revived. "It is enough, Joseph, my son is still alive. I will go and see him before I die." The deep well of grief that had colored his years began to recede, as the promise of restoration dawned upon him. As they journeyed towards Egypt, God spoke to Jacob in a dream. "Jacob, Jacob," he called, and Jacob replied, "Here I am." Then God said, "I am God, the God of your father. Do not be afraid to go down to Egypt, for there I will make of you a great nation." The divine affirmation settled upon Jacob, instilling his spirit with courage and stirring his soul with the promise that in Egypt, rather than being consumed by despair, he would witness a multiplication of the blessings God had initially bestowed. Arriving in the land of Egypt, Jacob beheld the opulence of Pharaoh's house, a sight so wondrous it could only be perceived through God's hands. As he approached Joseph, the son he thought lost, the tears of reunion became a river of divine grace flowing freely. Joseph fell upon his father's neck, each sob was a testament of years separated, yet now restored. Jacob looked upon Joseph and said, "Now let me die, since I have seen your face and know you are still alive." Joseph, now understanding the weight of this reunion, smiled through tears and assured, "You shall see the safeguarding of your posterity, for I will provide for you and your children." In this sanctified moment, God's sovereign plan unfolded even further, ensuring that his covenant with Abraham would continue through this weakened but steadfast lineage. What greater narrative of faith awaited them? As they embraced under the vast Egyptian sky, the tapestry of time promised that the fullness of God's purpose nestled in their hearts, ready to be revealed. For little did they know, even deeper trials awaited, preparing them to witness the unfolding of a divine destiny, as a great nation was destined to arise from those very tribulations, firmly anchored in the love and providence of the Almighty. The dawn of purpose shone brighter than ever, yet another chapter loomed, pregnant with expectancy. Once reunited, Jacob and his sons settled in the land of Goshen, in the fatness of the earth, where they thrived amidst the remnants of a withering world. The days glowed with the warmth of family, yet shadows whispered of the deeper currents of providence that flowed unseen. As the seasons passed, the famine gripped the land in unrelenting cruelty. The people of Egypt cried out to Pharaoh for bread, and he directed them to Joseph. Joseph, wise and understanding, stored grain during the years of plenty. Now, he opened the granaries, and like a river, sustenance poured forth, feeding not only the Egyptians but also surrounding nations, drawing them before him for help. Amidst the growing throngs, Jacob's heart was heavy, for he heard of the famines devastating Canaan. "Go again, buy us a little food," he instructed his sons, a mix of desperation and hope edging into his tone. But Judah spoke up. "The man warned us, saying, 'You shall not see my face unless your brother is with you.' We must take Benjamin." The name Benjamin trembled in Jacob's heart. He had already lost one son from Rachel. "Why were you so cruel to tell him that you had another brother?" He lamented, his eyes clouded with grief. Yet the need for sustenance clawed at them. At last, trembling under the weight of necessity, he relented. "If it must be so, take your brother and return to the man, and may God Almighty grant you mercy before the man," Jacob prayed. As they journeyed to Egypt, fear and trepidation flitted about their hearts like restless shadows. Upon their arrival, Joseph beheld his brothers and was captivated by the sight of Benjamin, the son of his beloved mother, Rachel. "Is this your youngest brother?" he asked, his voice steady yet filled with hidden emotion. "Yes, he is," they replied, their voices trembling before the governor of the land.
Joseph felt the bond of love surge, but he concealed his feelings behind a mask of authority. Commands flowed like swift rivers, and a feast was prepared for them in the house of Joseph. Yet, confusion enveloped his brothers as they bowed before him in humility, longing still for understanding and restitution. When they were brought to the house, they feared that they would be treated as thieves, but Joseph assured them of peace. At the sight of Benjamin, joy and sorrow wrestled within him, but he could not reveal his heart. Instead, he ordered special portions to be served, and Benjamin's portion exceeded the rest, a bounty of favor that was yet another divine mystery waiting to unfold. As they feasted, an uneasy peace settled over them, boundaries of the past intersecting with the hope of renewal. Their hearts softened, unfolding as conversations echoed in the room, laughter faintly mingling with the unspoken truths they carried. Joseph marveled, knowing that they were not the same men who had once cast him into the depths of despair. "I fear the man," they whispered to one another, knowing not that this man was their brother, who now held their future within his hands, sanctified by God's divine purpose. The tale of their trials was not yet finished, for God's plan remained in the shadows, waiting to strike with breathtaking clarity. As the sun dipped beneath the horizon, a new measure of fear grasped at Joseph's heart. He longed to reveal himself, yet knew that to do so would bring forth the dawning of trials he must lead them through. What metamorphosis awaited at the edge of this journey? For divine providence lingered, whispering to Joseph's heart. The sovereignty of God was weaving threads of reconciliation through the tapestry of their lives, destined to culminate in an act that would forever change the lineage of Israel. What would be the decisive moment when truth would be laid bare beneath the radiant sun of understanding? The answer lay just beyond the next threshold of faith. As days turned to weeks, layered with the richness of the land of Goshen, the family flourished, yet the shadows of doubt and fear lingered like wisps of smoke. The hearts of Jacob's sons were filled with trepidation as the recurrent necessity for sustenance tied their fates to the enigmatic governor of Egypt. Joseph, cloaked in authority yet burdened with longing, saw the shift in the brothers' demeanors. They stood on a precipice, captivated by the echoes of their past. Once again, the pressing need for provisions drove Jacob's sons to Egypt. Fear rattled their souls as they approached the thresholds of the palace where lines of grain and sorrow intersected. Benjamin, keenly aware of his beloved mother's legacy, felt the weight of his brother's struggles tighten around him. They faced a reckoning, as the specters of their past loomed larger upon their arrival. Joseph noticed the hesitance flickering in their eyes, a reflection of their wrestle with guilt and shame. Standing tall and regal, he prepared to unveil the next chapter of God's plan. "You have returned," he stated, his voice carrying authority woven with a compelling urgency. "Bring forth the young man." The brothers, now reluctant yet bound by necessity, complied. As Benjamin stepped forward, Joseph felt the tide of emotions surge anew, a connection forged by blood and kinship stirred within. "Is this your brother?" he inquired, his words laced with a weight of affection that only he and Benjamin understood. "Yes," they confirmed, fear leaching color from their faces as realizations of their shared history sat heavily upon their hearts. Joseph's heart swelled. For within this brother stood a living emblem of the love lost yet resurrected, a gift of grace that had sustained his spirit through long years of separation. "Gather for a feast," Joseph commanded, concealing his secrets behind a veil of mastery. As they feasted together, the air thrummed with anticipation. Joseph observed their interactions keenly, his heart both burdened by the past and buoyed by hope. Would his brothers act with unity, or would old wounds resurface? He selected a special portion for Benjamin, an act that sparked confusion and jealousy while simultaneously reminding him of the profound impacts of favoritism. As they dined, Joseph's heart wrestled with the revealed truth hidden behind every morsel of food shared, every nervous glance exchanged. They are changing, he thought, perhaps softened by their ordeal through famine and despair. Would they stand united against the trials still waiting to ensnare them, or would past betrayal fracture their newfound connections? After the feast, with the echoes of laughter handing in the air like autumn leaves before the storm, Joseph set his final cunning plan into motion. He ordered his steward to fill his brother's sacks with grain, but within Benjamin's sack, he stealthily placed his silver cup, the very cup from which Pharaoh drank. It was an orchestration plan to test the depths of their hearts, seeking truth buried deep in their souls. As they commenced their return, the steward pursued them, an envoy of justice riding the tension in the air. "Why have you repaid good with evil?" he asked vehemently, revealing the hidden cup. The brothers, shaken to their core, returned to Joseph's palace, fear flooding their minds as they grappled with despair. Could this be the end?
That very fear hung like a shroud over them, threatening to unravel their progress. Benjamin stood at the center of the reckoning, the weight of his family's history layered against the striking vulnerability of his young heart, wrestling with anguish. Judah stepped forward, filled with a fierce protectiveness for Benjamin.
"Take me instead," he implored, desperation clouding his vision.
"Let Benjamin go, for I cannot bear to see our father's grief again."
Joseph's resolve was tested as he bore witness to Judah's sacrificial heart.
The layers of remorse tangled with unyielding love partook of grace that had been absent before. It was in this pivotal moment that he could remain shrouded in his
disguise or unveil the truth. Could forgiveness truly bloom from such tumult? "Is my father still alive?"
Joseph exclaimed, revealing himself to them, his voice trembling with the burden of years lost to severance. The brothers reeled in disbelief, trembling and horrified by the revelation that stood before them. A silence draped over the hall, heavy as the air pre-storm. In this epic of divine unveiling, God's grand design surfaced as Joseph shared the purpose that threaded through their heartbreaking past and exponentially beyond the confines of individual experiences. "Fear not," he reassured them, "for God has woven this pattern of providence for a purpose far greater than we envisioned." Each brother stood before him, hearts exposed, wrestling with the comprehension of redemption and grace. Joseph's honesty peeled away layers of doubt, igniting a beacon of hope against the tides of their guilt.
Could they grasp truly what lay before them?
Through the tumultuous trials they had endured, divine mystery revealed itself, sowing seeds of a future laced with purpose and identity. For even as Joseph shared the necessity of their coming together, they would form a people set apart, destined for greatness amid the challenges that would form their legacy in the sands of time. And as the night deepened, illuminating the chasm of despair bridging toward revelation, the promise echoed into eternity, igniting a yearning in Jacob's heart.
What further wonders might God enact upon them, as the pathways of their lives converged toward a destiny only He could unveil?
The sovereign plan awaited its next unveiling, for beneath the surface of every decision lay the vibrant possibility of a nation rising from the ashes of betrayal, love, and divine grace.